Mike has muted me.
My bad. I do apologise. I'm sorry. we haven't even started and I've already had enough of your voice.
Everyone, welcome along to Season 3, Episode 52. Nice little intimate chat tonight with myself and Mike. We're going to continue our Project Prospect series. We are looking at wide receivers tonight. We have 6 guys, so if we're talking about someone and you want to talk about someone else, we will be swinging back around to this at later on, closer to draft day. So I think, Mike, you said you had 47 wide receivers on your board.
41 I'm up to.
41. Wow.
And when the boys were on the show yesterday, I let them crack on with it, and I was just like, right, I'm going to get these last guys finished. So that's it now. I can leave wide receiver alone. And there's only so much of it you can take because your eyes start to kind of start dancing around you, and you're like, oh, I can't focus anymore.
It is true, and like it's hard to track wide receivers at times because obviously you're generally plotting for them to go one way, and then if they come across the middle, you know, you're like, crap, I wasn't planning on that route, and you're having to rewind and start it again, and you know, it can be annoying.
Yeah, but, especially the slot guys. The slot guys are really finicky because you just it's always back and forth, and you're like, okay, now I've got it.
Yeah, the slot guy is something we are going to have to talk about very seriously in this draft class because a lot of people want CD to stay in the slot, but I don't know if that's going to be something you want your primary wide receiver doing.
I get the reasons behind that because he's not the guy you want to be running routes. He's the guy you want to be throwing the ball to quickly and just go in for it. So I do get that. Yes. We put out the Kenyon Green. The Kenyon Green stats.
That was absolutely. If there is an Aggie getting love from the UK Cowboys, you can be 100% sure it's Mr. Mike that is posting out that tweet or Facebook post or anything like that. And let's not also forget, Mike, you do an awful lot of stuff for College Collective here in the UK and Ireland as well, putting out information on there.
Yeah. I do need to start. And it used to be Snap Scouting, but that went by the wayside when the kids are born. But maybe one day when I'm much older and I've got more time and more money, I doubt I'll have more money, but I definitely have more time.
That is true. I mean, for someone who, Green had baby, when was it? November?
October.
Yeah. Well, like Mike is a 4 or 5 month old kid and still pumps out all of this information. I don't have any kids at all, and I barely can keep up with the guy. So
you do your bit. Everybody's got a little part to play.
Yeah, that's it. But before we do jump into these prospects tonight, there is a little bit of news, and we're just gonna talk about it. Obviously, look, free agency is ongoing every day.
Yeah.
We have returned Leighton Van Der Esch, and Mike, I know you were quite happy about that.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've got is jersey, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Because it's a ritual. I always buy whatever the first round guy is. I'll always buy their jersey.
Yeah.
But and you do the usual thing then, don't you? And you plod along and get all the other guys. You can absolutely tell I've been drinking. I am waffling.
Yes, but we did agree. Like, obviously, yesterday was St. Patrick's Day for me here in Ireland. We also had a second bank holiday today. So I have beer open, and as you can see there, if you're able to read that, your ridiculous little opinion has been noted, and it doesn't matter. That was beer cozy I got for my stag do, which is what 12 and a half years ago now at this stage.
And it's still going strong.
It's still holding up. So yeah, but I know, Mike. I know you were quite happy about Van der Esch returning, and I did see the tweets that are out there. Are the people were prepared to go to 5 million for him, and we got him for 3. Now, obviously, we're just waiting on the final details of that to come out. But I mean, look, it's not the worst deal in the world.
No, I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's confirmed how that contract is broken down. Like you said, we'll need to know what is.
So Graham is coming in with it. It's cheaper than the €50 option. It absolutely is, Graham. It's three times. It's 3 times less than the €50 option, which is a great price to get him for. But we've also returned in the last few minutes. Luke Gifford has returned on a 1-year deal as well. And I'll ask the question, Mike, what are your thoughts so far on the off-season and what's happened in the past week? I mean, look, we can't avoid what happened with Amari Cooper, what's happened with Lyle Collins. We're only signing our own, and there's a lot of angst and anger from Cowboys Nation about us not having signed anyone outside of our own. Should we be surprised?
No, I know. They're not big players in free agency. You see this every year. It's not an unknown thing. What I think is probably what's more why Cowboys fans are getting annoyed is that if you take into account Lyle Collins as well, he's 10 mil back on the cap, but that's not until post-June because of the cap.
Yeah.
How they designated him. So that's 36 million between now and, post 1st June. So people are just like, well, that's a lot of money. Spend it, but they don't seem to be. They're dragging their heels. What you tend to find is that free agency comes in waves. And really with Dallas, and you see it every year, they won't dip their toes into the free agency pool too deep until the second wave hits.
Yeah.
And you see it every time. It's not a new tactic by them. And I get the frustration. And the frustration is that we're losing starters. So we've lost Lyle Collins. We've lost Amari Cooper. There's all these parts that seem to, and what they're doing is they've only re-signed, because there's also defensive end as well. I've forgotten his name.
Randy Gregory.
No, the other guy.
Dorrance Armstrong.
Yes, thank you very much. Man, how could I forget his name? I love him. Anyway, he had a great year last year. We was talking about Armstrong last year. Same old thing. He's going to be good in, like I said, he breaks my heart every year. He's great in training camp. Come the season and he disappears. But last year he didn't disappear. He actually had more sacks than Randy Gregory. So and that's the frustrating part is that they lose all these stars again. Like you say, Randy Gregory. There's another name, and who do they bring back? So they bring back Dorrance Armstrong. It was really your third down DPR type guy, but still, he's back. They bring back Luke Gifford. People have a very low opinion on Leighton Van Der Esch, and I get the reasons behind it.
Yeah.
I can make an argument why he's a good player, though, just as much as people can argue about how he's a bad player. And that's the trouble, is that they seem to be bringing back all the non-starters back, but not the starters, and the starters seem to be going off and finding other teams to go to. And that's what's frustrating, is our cap's going up, but our starters are disappearing. Yeah,
that's true. I'm just going to bring up the comment there from DJ Dog. Gregory situation has Cowboys Nation even more on edge than years past, when my Twitter's filled with Cowboy fan rage and Stephen Jones is wearing the horns. I mean, absolutely, it's true. And I think look, I think a lot of it is anger towards Stephen Jones, and I'm going to bring up a counterpoint to a lot of this anger. And you made the point that we always go in the second wave. And if you look at our history in recent seasons, we've picked up Robert Quinn. I know it was a trade, but it was after the first wave of free agency. Alden Smith. Last year, Brent Urban, Carlos Watkins, Terrell Basham,
Rolando McLean.
Rolando McLean, we picked him up off the streets. And like the one guy almost everybody wanted re-signed this offseason, J-Ron Curse. We picked him up in the second wave last year. So I get the anger, I get the annoyance, but this team has a habit of figuring it out. If you want to flick it back, though, I do get the anger, and I do have a lot of anger myself about the Lyle Collins situation.
It's frustrating, is what it is.
Yeah. Like in our little group chat amongst ourselves as admins, like Rich and myself were chatting back and forth yesterday, and like as Rich kind of made the point, Lyle Collins started as a left guard, who was switched out to right tackle, and we never gave him a chance again at left guard. We lost our starting left guard, and we've now cut Lyle Collins, who could have gone back to that position. You know, so I do get the anger that is going on there. As look, I'll pull up the comment as Graham has said, look, we're losing A- players and keeping C+ players. It is a very fair point that Graham makes.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's exactly what we're saying, is that they seem to be shedding the starting parts, but we're retaining the next guys down, you know. Like people are saying, oh, you know, is Brent Urban going to be the next guy? And it's like, it probably will be, you know. But here's the point: is people they're going to sign Brent Urban for argument's sake, and then people are just going to throw their arms up again and be like, why aren't we doing more? Why aren't we getting Von Miller and all the rest of it? There could be a plan ahead where they're trying to store cap for next season. It could be that they have plans for after the draft. You just have to wait and see how it goes. The biggest problem is that you get this from all the boys over in Cowboys media and girls. Sorry, and girls. Over in Frisco, and you know, you know as well as I do, they love us to bits. We love them to bits. They share a lot of their information when they don't have to with us, but they do. But you know, it's difficult when they're trying to tell you themselves. They go in, like, I just say trust the process. They go and trust the process, and you're like, I've trusted the process for the last 2 decades, and where's it got us? That's the trouble. That's the trouble I have with it. It's that it just seems to be that cliche statement that keeps coming out from them every year, and you're just like, we've been here before.
And again, like in relation to what you were saying, trust the process, and a lot of what we're being told again is, look, they've hit on draft picks, and Graham does make the point, we're not going to hit on draft picks every single year.
No.
And you know, we do have to be careful that, you know, there's no point in stripping ourselves of some of the better players that we have just because we're trying to create cap. Because let's talk about the elephant in the room. A lot of people are just talking about, are we asset stripping now for 2023? Are we effectively saying to Mike McCarthy, you're just guiding the ship and Sean Payton will be here next year? Do you know? And I don't think it's a good strategy if that is what they're trying to do.
Well, I mean, for starters, has anybody, like, everybody keeps saying, oh, you know, Sean Payton, and they're going like, imagine Sean Payton. Like, has anybody actually asked him? Because he's not specifically came out and said, oh, yeah, you know, next year I'm looking to come coach for the Cowboys. Nobody's actually asked him the question, or in the media. He's retired, he's done.
Yeah.
And the other point I will say as well, something that Mike McCarthy has over Payton is Mike McCarthy has never been done for trying to specifically target players and injure them.
Very true.
He never got involved in the Targetgate scandal.
No, he didn't. And like, I do agree. Again, Graham, thanks for everything you are adding to the show. And if you want to join, jump in with us. But I feel for Mike McCarthy and hope he had to say it, because it looks like literally he's had no say. Dan Quinn's guys have been kept. As we say, Malik Cook they brought, and Bones Fassel has had his guys. Like Mike McCarthy is the head coach and he doesn't seem to have gotten any regard. So I really do hope for his sake he knows what the plan is, because otherwise he's going to be if things go pear-shaped by week 8, he's a sitting duck.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway, look, this is the Prospect Project show, and myself and Mike are going to get into an area that we love talking about: wide receivers. So we're going to talk about the top 6 wide receivers in our opinion. This is a consensus amongst us, and where we would put them in the 1 to 6 is irrelevant. We're going to talk through them, and as we say, don't worry.
Got it here somewhere. There it is.
Yeah,
there we go.
If someone is missing from the top 6 and you think they should be in it, we are going to come back around and we are going to have another show and talk about different wide receivers. But these are guys we think should be targeted in round 1 and round 2. So the first guy, and this is our consensus, it is Chris Olave, wide receiver out of The Ohio State.
Yeah. Okay, we'll start there. Yeah, I tell you what, I put a post up on this. Tell me if you agree or disagree. Chris Olave, amongst all the prospects in this year's draft, he is the safest.
100%. Yeah. Like Chris,
the floor is the highest.
Yeah. Chris Olave, if you watch his college tape, is the safest bet. He is the guy who is the best right tree. He is the guy who gets 2 feet in play. He was prepared for playing on Sunday. He enjoyed playing college football, but he always had his eye and was mentally preparing himself to play NFL football. So above anything, he has that high floor. Like, if you flick it back to, I don't know how it is, I always end up referencing the 2015 Ohio State National Championship team. Michael Thomas was on that team, and Michael Thomas did not have the numbers or the statistics or the ability that Chris Olave has.
See, because 2015, I could check my draft board for scores, but 2015, so I started doing them in 2014. So 15 will be a bit of an iffy year for me to get contextual scores on that. But here's what is interesting then. If you want to contextualize, I went back and checked my last year's scores. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Drake London are all got an 85, which is a first round score on my board. But last year, you had Chase and Devontae Smith. Both of them scored higher than both Olave and Wilson. So Garrett Wilson is my wide receiver 1. But if you put it with last year's class, he'd be wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
Just for some contextualism.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, nobody, like, I think even if you want to add in CD and Justin Jefferson's class, like, I think Justin Jefferson and CD Lamb would also be above both of these guys. And Robert, absolutely, we do wish they would make some kind of move, so don't worry about that.
That is
and Graham, we do see your questions. We will bring them up in time. Don't worry about that.
But going back to Chris Olave, I mean, we talk about him being the safest bet. Is the big thing for me, the number one thing for any wide receiver that I look at is the first thing is route running. like, what's your route tree? How's your route stem, and how crisp are those routes? Both the progression part of it and at the top of the route. Are they snappy? Are they quick? Because it's all about efficiency in the NFL. Like, you don't need to be fast. We've seen that many times. In fact, Jerry Rice is maybe one of the slowest wide receivers in the NFL, and he holds the record. You don't need to be quick. You don't need to be agile. You don't need to be powerful. But if you're a route technician, that's the equivalent of just like field efficiency. So that's the number one thing I look for. And Chris Olave, his route stems, especially at the very start when he goes to get off. I mean, that guy, he's away and he is gone. Very techy, very technical in his routes.
Yeah.
I mean, it just honestly, it really is amazing to watch when you watch it.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask this question. Is there a bit of Michael Irvin about him?
He's quite prototypical, in terms of height and size. Michael Irvin was a little bit on the higher side of that. But I know what you're saying in terms of like playmaking ability.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Irvin was called a playmaker. So like as in playmaking ability, yes. Like just get the guy, give him a chance, throw in the ball, he will figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, you go through some of the lists of things, and hold on, here's an interesting one. I've done this. So I've taken combine data. So I'll just let that load up a sec. So here we go. So just to give you an idea of like how athletic the guy is. He's got exactly on the nose a 1.5 10-yard split. That's rapid. That ranks in the 88th percentile. 40-yard, he was 4.39. That's 86th percentile. Broad jump, a 1.24. 72nd percentile. The guy is explosive, and he's got decent sized hands too. So that's just as an example of just like his athletic traits. Do you know what I mean? Just his basic traits. And you could just go through statistically what the guy did. That over 100 yards in his 7 last games, touchdowns. So he scored a touchdown or more in 8 straight games. In his last 8 straight games, which is just an incredible thing to look at. And, I'm trying to go through some other bits and pieces here that he has statistically, if you like. So, like, just in the last 3 seasons, so his entire collegiate career, you're looking at 32 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's just nuts. That's incredible. Like, Justin Fields was there, not the season gone, season before. And no wonder the guy done so well when he's got a guy like Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave catching balls for him. Yeah.
And as much as we're talking about Chris Olave, I'm just going to side note this for a second. As much as we say about Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, they were probably wide receivers 2 and 3 on Ohio State's team this year.
Yeah, that is true. When you're going to talk about what's coming up. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And I mean, there's another guy that we'll talk about tonight as well, that he's seen the writing on the wall and he jumped ship. And that's why the guy's so low down on my board. But he could see what was coming and he was just like, I can't deal with this. Yeah. This is just insane. I'm jumping ship and moving on.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say with Chris Olave is the thing that is kind of concerning with him is that you don't want him to try and catch those 50-50 balls. Contested catches, forget it. But that's not how he wins anyway. It's not that. That's not his style of game. His style of game is very much like Jerry Rice, was to separate on the field, to get separation, to get open, have an accurate passer. Like I say, like Justin Fields is a good example. That accurate passer who's got a good ball placement, who can put it where it needs to be, because he will separate and he will catch it. He will go and get it. the balance the guy has and the body control as well. I mean, I'm just going through, I've just put out some of the things on my list. Strong hands.
Yeah. And he's
Ball
very much
tracking.
two-hands catcher.
Yeah. But he doesn't need to be at the body.
No.
That's one thing you try to look for is how many body catches are they making and how many is he making away from his body. And he doesn't drop the ball all that often. What have I got down? It's 5 drops, which is not good, but it's not bad.
No.
It's not great, but it all depends on the type of game that they're playing. You have to take it in with some context. But, I've got it all. Natural pass catcher, as you said, reliable hands, focus passing, concentration catches, all there. Can snatch the ball out of the air. Overall speed is good. Burst is even better, as we mentioned with the 10-yard split.
Yeah.
What else? We got fluid athlete, explosive, can breeze past defenders, which is one of the more impressive traits that go along with what he's got. But as I say, the negatives are, and another thing as well is versatility is a negative for Chris Olave, because you're only going to use him on the outside as that outside wide receiver or vertical passer. Maybe throw some option routes in there as well. But you're not going to be putting him on special teams. You're not going to be trying to move him around the field too much. He's going to go on the outside. That's where he's going to go. Try and get a lot of play action in there so that he can go for the kill. Yeah.
Like, there have been a few questions which have come in and just kind of, you touched on it there in terms of where you're going to play Chris Olave, because DJ Dog is making the point here. CD can play the slot, so ideally you'd hope to get a wide receiver who can play both and it'd make your top 3 wide receivers versatile. I mean, if you're looking at Chris Olave as a wide receiver, you're looking at him as an X or a Y receiver?
With an X, I would say.
With Gallup as your Y and then CD playing as your third guy. Now, obviously, depending on the situation, that'll change, but that's ideally what you're looking at.
Yeah, kind of think like with the Eagles have done with last year's draft pick, Devontae Smith. Exactly how you're going to want to play Chris Olave, that way.
Yeah.
Because he is that type of guy,
Absolutely.
Just without the Heisman.
Yeah. And look, let's be fair. Devontae Smith had a great Heisman season, but he was in no way favored to be the Heisman winner in that season. No one would have earmarked him for it.
Oh, no. I mean, he chose to go back for the 4th year, which is somewhat commendable,
Yeah. I'm just going to pull up a comment here from Graham because I saw this in our own private chat and he put it in. Is Christian Kirk being paid $15 million because these guys aren't usual standard first rounders? I would say any of the 6 guys we're going to discuss tonight is a far better receiver than Christian Kirk. And I like Christian Kirk coming out of college.
Yeah, and he played for Texas A&M, and you're saying that.
Yeah. That says it all.
There you go.
Yeah.
But as I say, I've got Chris Olave on my board with an 85 score. So you need 85.0 or above to be a first round grade. So he's right there. There's not much more to add. All of his combine results are all right where they need to be. They're all in the green. So I give them different colors. Green is above where it needs to be. So he's literally above everything where he needs to be. As I say, he's a separator. He's that type of guy. He's not going to get you, as another negative, he's not going to get you much yak because he's not very creative with the ball in terms of trying to dance around plays. He's going to try and beat you with feet. Beat you in feed. He's going to beat you in a foot race. He's going to try and run you down, and that's really about it. He'll do a bit of motion, but it's not really that side of his game. So, middle of the field is where you're going to be wanting to hit him. He's going to go down. He's going to go down, not easily, but he is going to go down. He's not going to be that type of guy, and then it's on to the next play.
Yeah. So if we flip it over, and just before we do flip it over to the next guy, DJ Doug, we do notice the comment you're putting in about Sky Moore, and as we said before we kind of started into these guys, Sky Moore is not in our top 6, and you know we do accept he's in your top 5. Sky Moore is a guy we're going to talk about in the next batch of wide receivers that we have. So it's great to see you interacting. We do love the interaction, because otherwise we're just talking amongst ourselves. But it is. And anyone else who's listening, if you have a top 5 or a top 6, let us know what you think. What you think. It's an interactive show. We want to know everybody's opinion. So I'm going to flip it over, and we're not going very far. We're going to the other side of the field from Ohio State, and Garrett Wilson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is my wide receiver 1. I don't know about you. Is he your wide receiver 1? Yeah.
I've Olave 1. Olave is 1 for me, but again, I can see the case for Garrett Wilson being 1 as well.
Yeah, you're not going to go wrong with either, I get why people will. So what is it for you Olave does, but is it the efficiency that beats Wilson, is it?
It's the efficiency.
Safety.
It's the efficiency, it's the higher floor, it's the sure-handedness that he has, and it's that he's always been preparing himself to play on Sunday. So he's been planning years ahead.
Yeah. I mean, like, what is funny is that in terms of what they are, they're just starkly different, like totally different. That there's a little bit of CD Lamb with Garrett Wilson. He's going to be, he's that type of guy you want to have from the slot, really. Traded to Cleveland. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was an interesting one. He's really a yak daddy. Where we were saying Chris Olave, he's not going to try and dance around that guy. Garrett Wilson's the opposite. He's the guy you want to get the ball to quickly. A lot of high volume concepts, a lot of RPOs involved in it. Get him the ball, get it to him quickly, just let him loose, like we do with CD Lamb.
Yeah.
Sure, you can let him on deep routes. You can go for all of that. He's still going to do that. I mean, he's got the same amount of drops. What is interesting with him, though, is yards after the catch. It is just like, I mean, that's just mental, but okay. Is missed tackles. And what is crazy is how he's utilized. So you're going to see a lot of, if you go watch the tape, you will see the deep passes. You will see him catching deep, but you'll see screens from the slot. It's very, they try and move him around a lot to try and utilize that yak ability that he has. He is, for me, the better of the two, only because he offers a lot more in terms of, and I know I'm eating my own words when I said the first thing I look at is route running, because that's efficiency on the field in the NFL. Yeah. But Garrett Wilson does have good route running. There's nothing wrong with it. A very smooth accelerator. And I think when we were talking about in terms of the negative sides, Wilson does the opposite to Olave in terms of body catching. He does like to catch it into his body as opposed to away from his body, which is what Olave will do. But there's one of these things that you saw with Justin Fields, especially, is he just there was the connection there, right? Yeah. And I think there was more of a connection with him, and you've seen it with CJ Stroud as well, where you see the connection between him and Wilson more than you saw it with him and Olave for whatever reason, but you saw it with both quarterbacks, and that just to me says that there's just something more of a spark there to make that chemistry work. And he can, as I say, I'll go through some of the positives I've written down for him. Is that on deep routes he can get separation, so that was important. Across the middle on crossing routes, he does extend his arms to catch away from the body. So I have put that in there. After the catch, difficult to bring down. I mean, this is a guy who's 6 foot 192. Okay. I get his combine notes up as well. Just to give you some more information, because his combine was even more crazier than Chris Olave's. So his 10-yard split was even faster. It was 149, which is 92nd percentile. Talking about, his strength and his size, his hand size was 9 7/8, which is 82nd percentile. But then 40-yard dash, 4.38. Bear in mind the guy's 192, right? Mm-hmm. So imagine a 4.38 coming at you. That's 90th percentile. Vertical jump, 36, which is more than average. It's 57.
Yep.
Broad jump, 1, 2, 3, 65th percentile, which is just they're just crazy numbers when you look at them all. Yeah. And it was what was the other point I was going to make with his? I did write it down and I've lost my notes on it. But there was another point with his combine that was very interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll circle back to it when I remember.
Yeah.
But go on. Sorry.
For me, Wilson was the obvious winner at the combine on day one for the wide receivers. He absolutely nailed it. As you kind of said, Stroud and Fields both went to him, even though Chris Olave has a better route tree. And he has that ability after the catch to get away from defenders. So, as you I agree. Yes, he. There's no debate. He could be the wide receiver 1 in this class. And the only reason I go with Olave is the route tree, because that translates to the NFL, and the higher floor, that translates to the NFL.
The safety aspect of it. Yeah, I get that.
It is a case that he's going to have to find a QB. And I think Graham made the point here that Graham picked him last night, picked Garrett Wilson last night for the Falcons. And it is true. He's going to have to find a QB who will work with him and will want to find him at all areas of the field.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking, was it the streak cone that was the most impressive thing?
For Williams?
No,
Wilson.
For Wilson, yeah.
His splits it really on the 40 and the 10 were the fastest. I'll bring it back up.
Yeah.
Now. But just another note on Wilson, just a little tidbit that I've added is in his last 3 career games, 381 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just insanity. I'm trying to have a look. 11, so 23 touchdowns during his college career. Garrett Wilson, I don't have a cone. He didn't run the cone drills. His faster, his splits were his 10 and his 40-yard dash. Do you know what, right? Here's a crazy fact for you. Do you know who owns the fastest 10-yard split at the combine?
I can actually pull this up, I think, because
no, you got to do it. Guessing. Oh, did he?
I think DJ Dog did bring this point up. I'm just trying to find it. Sky Moore had a 138.
Actually, no, that's still not fastest. Yeah, the fastest to ever run the 10-yard split. And when I say it, you'd be like, that doesn't sound right. Fastest 10-yard split the combine ever recorded was Des Bryant.
I'm not going to lie, that does not sound right.
It doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it does.
Hold on, let me see if I can bring
that's startling.
I know I read it before.
Just whilst you're doing that, I am going to pull up a couple of comments here from DJ Dog in relation to the Deshaun Watson trade. So what Baker Mayfield is now, lol, and Baker is requesting a trade. I think this reflects, Mike, what you and I both thought coming out of college, that Baker Mayfield is not an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. Just so you know, Des Bryant's 10-yard split is faster than the Sky Moores. He still owns the highest 10-yard split.
Wow. That
doesn't make sense. When you think of Des Bryant, you're like, huh? You're like, that's not how we
Yeah.
know. But go and check it out.
No.
But continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. No, literally, I was talking about the Deshaun Watson trade and Baker Mayfield. I made reference to the fact neither of us thought Baker Mayfield is an NFL quarterback. Graham is making the point here, Colts on line 1 for Baker. I think they would be better, and Jamie did make this point in our group chat that the Colts might make that call. I still think Sam Ellinger would beat him out.
It depends if he's able to throw the ball further than 10 yards.
Yeah, that's true. It depends on the wide receiving core.
Yeah, basically.
But, again, and look, Graham is making the point, and this is the question we'll circle back around to. Will any of the top 5 wide receivers be available at 24? We'll circle back to that, 100%. Graham, but definitely there should be someone available. But you made reference to the fact that someone left Ohio State because they could see what was coming. And as we say, we've mentioned Chris Olave and we've mentioned Garrett Wilson, and they were the wide receivers 2 and 3 behind a freshman this year in Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
So, that shows, and look, it shows. Tune in 2 years' time, folks, because some of the wide receivers that will be coming out in 2024 are out of this world. I'm thinking of Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm thinking of Xavier Worthy from Texas. There are some outstandingly talented receivers going to be in that class. But Jameson Williams, who is now of Alabama and previously of Ohio State, left Ohio State because he couldn't compete, and yet still went on. And again, I'm just going to bring up the point that Graham made back up here. Is Jameson Williams not our number 1 because of the injuries that he picked up?
The injuries, I mean, I get it. The injury is bad. I mean, it was a knee injury for starters, so we all don't want to go there. You tie in that, obviously, as well with the transfer. And he transferred because of not getting enough playing time, which I understand and I get. But also, in my mind, I just think battle it and get in there. And he's not yet, for me, he's not wide receiver 1, not just because of that. There's other reasons too. Knee injury, the transfer, the reasons behind it is I'm not a fan of either. If it's because you've got the talent and you feel that he's not being showcased and you're going to miss it, then fair enough. If you think that it's because you're not going to be good enough to outbeat the guys ahead of you, then I got a problem. And that was really kind of where Jameson Williams fell into. The ACL tear, as I say, that was bad. The knee injury was a concern. I mean, if you want to go through other reasons, what I've got is, so let's have a look. Jameson Williams is his body proportion as well is a bit weird. So he's quite tall. He's like 6'3" and 189 pounds, and it does look odd, but he makes it work, which is fair enough. 6 drops on the season, so you're okay. Yards after the catch per reception is right up there. He's very near the top. Deep yards as well, deep yard catcher. But
Mike, I'm just going to go back for 1 second. What did you say his measurements were? Because I have a different set of measurements, and I'm going, whoa. I think you said 6'3", 192, wasn't
it? No. Yeah, sorry. Like, he's just shy of 6'2", so 6'1" and a bit, and 180 pounds.
Yeah, no, that's literally what I had, and I was going, did I mishear you?
I'm probably speaking too fast.
Because I'm just going like, Jesus, for a guy to be 6'2" and to be less than 13 stone. I mean, I'm 6'4".
That's what I mean. Yeah.
I mean, I'm 15 and a half to 16 stone. So,
and it makes the body proportions look all weird because it makes him look slight, which he is. Hey presto, he's getting injuries, albeit a dreaded ACL tear, but still. And like you go about other things, there's issues with consistency, which is a problem. His use of hands, securing deep throws can be an issue. He lets so one of the ones that I absolutely hate, allows the ball into his pads and chest. Don't like it, because obviously you've got the issue of ricochet, getting a tackle, getting beaten, the ball's bobbling around, it's up in the air. Nah, not a fan of that. And he does let that happen, but it doesn't mean to say that he's not a good receiver. Now, as I said, 85 for me, an 85 score gives you a first round grade. And Jameson Williams, and one of the knocks on him is obviously injuries. You have to take that into account.
Yeah.
He finished with an 84.6. So he's only just shy of first round grade. And that's with the injury. So it goes to show you how good he is. But the ACL tear, so I mean, we'll try and get some more news out of that one. Transfer was an issue, so puts a character knock against him. But apart from everything else, like some of the things I've put in here, he's a quick route worker, goes through his progressions of his route very, very quickly, very progressive, smooth accelerator, which is really good because that gives you your quarterback work to. Snappy in his routes, loves 9 routes and the post route. So obviously he's working. For me, though, it depends how you're going to use him, but I would try and utilize him, which is why I'm not a fan of him being at the Cowboys. As that Z or type receiver, he's not going to be a guy you want to play as the axe. Yeah.
I'm just going to pull up a couple of comments here. So Graham has just kind of Bucky Brooks' rankings are Drake London, Jameson Williams, Garrett Wilson, Jahan Dotson and Traylon Burks. Both of whom we're going to, all 3 of those guys we're going to come to in our next.
Funnily enough, part. Drake London, the very first paragraph I got on here is could have been wide receiver 1.
Yeah,
that's the first thing I've put. Yeah, the guy is an absolute beast.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull up this other comment because I'm going to declare my now undying love for DJ Dog. Xavier Worthy still has 2 more years at the great University of Texas. DJ Dog, there you go, my friend.
But yeah, I mean, going back to Jameson Williams, there's a lot, and like I love using the word monster. He is a monster in terms of his ability to stretch the field vertically, get down, track the ball, catch the deep ball. That's what he is. Very elusive with his footwork, very slippery. You watch it, snapping ankles, as they say.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some issues with consistency, issues with securing the ball on deep throws and letting it get to his pads, and the ACL tear as well. I mean, Drake London we'll get to in a moment. Both issues are the same, and the reason I got London higher is he's got his positives are a lot more, and he stuck through thick and thin with USC.
Yeah, it's very true. So if it came down to it, Mike, and like I think I know how you're going to answer this question. If Jameson Williams was an option at 24, would you draft him?
No.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I'm trying to picture that offense now, and how are you? Because really, you're going to have 2 guys really battling for the same type of role and position, and both of them, if you move them out of that to the outside, become less effective. They're better to drift in and out. So that's my reasons why. Also, until I know, we try and get some more information on how bad the knee is, because nobody knows, nobody's seen anything from him. I'm trying to go through this. He was still on the SEC first team last year, so that's a big one. And he was Alabama's #1 receiving option over there on a down year for Alabama, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very strange year for Alabama
Yes.
because they won the SEC title game and they
Mhm.
blew up Georgia,
Mhm.
and the national championship they never got started.
No.
And you know that was in a year where you were going, the wide receivers. There's no Jerry Jeudy. There's no Devontae Smith.
Mhm.
Their running back Brian Robinson Jr. was good, but he wasn't Najee Harris. He wasn't Derrick Henry.
Mhm.
And you know, the only thing that got them there, I think, was the fact of, as usual, they had a beast of an O-line and they had a quarterback.
Yeah,
Which is
I mean,
something
like,
you don't normally say about Alabama.
no, and talking about the SEC championship game, you know, Jameson Williams, he goes off on that was probably his best game of the season.
Yeah.
You know, he's like 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know,
Yeah.
Don't quote
Yeah.
me exactly on that, but I'm pretty certain it was.
Don't worry.
It was either 2 or 3 touchdowns, and he's close to 200 yards on the day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
No, it was.
that's the type of guy that you get with Jameson Williams.
I think Graham is trolling the great Sir Ian Wilson with this comment. Wonder which one the Packers will bite on in terms of these wide receivers.
I'm trying to think. Do you know what? I think it'd be like the Dotson type that they will want to go for.
And look, that's a brilliant segue because that was exactly where I was going to go.
All right then.
If we were doing this time last year,
yeah,
and you and I do that a little bit together and on the College Collective Facebook page, Jahan Dotson was the wide receiver 1 this time last year.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
You know, we talked about we had our thing where we had the game of the week, and we
week. Yeah.
We picked 3 games out and picked 3 guys in college games to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think the first game I picked out was Penn State and Nebraska, I think.
Yeah, that's right. No, it was. I can remember because Nebraska's your semi-college team. See.
Yeah, Nebraska is, because look, I nearly ended up living in Nebraska. So I was going to have to go to Cornhusker.
Yeah, you were going to live off corn and farming.
Yeah, there we go.
I say that the headquarters of Walmart is in Nebraska. So there you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But as we say, this time last year, and after anyone who was doing mock drafts and boards straight after the draft last year, looking at 2022, Jahan Dotson was almost unanimously the number 1 wide receiver on boards, and he has slipped in the last year. So what's caused that? Have other receivers passed him out? Has he regressed? Has he stalled? Or is he still potentially that guy?
No, he's still a really good guy. The issue why people have put him down on his boat, good. He was at the Senior Bowl, good Senior Bowl as well. But his issue is size. That's the big one. Is that the guy he's even like, people had issues last year with Devontae Smith. Like Dotson's even smaller. He's 5'10". 170 odd pound. Hold on,
178 is what I see.
178 pound. Yeah. And also there was nothing wrong in the drills, but in the athletic testing in the combine, he didn't shine. You know what I mean? And short guys, you want to see them with the explosive drills and the cone drills, and he did the 3-cone. And it was awful. It was slower than DK Metcalf's. And you know that, and you weren't expecting to see that. Whether there was issues that he hadn't practiced for it enough, perhaps, or there was a slip or something happened, I don't know. But a lot of it is that people are wary of the size. He hasn't had a history of injuries, but that is the issue. And the trouble you got is once you get to the NFL level, the cornerbacks, the safeties, they all get bigger, they all get faster. And one of the issues Dotson has is he can get knocked off his routes very, very easily because of his size. Because the size, he can get knocked off. When you get to the NFL level, that's going to happen more frequently and more often and even more easier. So I think scouts are looking at that and going, I don't know if I want to bet on that completely.
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
Yeah. Like I just pulled this up because it was something that was rattling around in my head was in terms of Justin Jefferson. So Justin Jefferson, 6'2", just shy of 15 stone, 210 pounds. I mean, that feeds in perfectly to the point that you make in terms of size, because one of the big things you had all last off season about Devontae Smith, as you said, you repeatedly called him the Slim Reaper. He's too small, and I think it was shown all through last season. He's too small, he's too slight, and I think in seasons coming he's going to get injured because he doesn't have the weight on his frame, and guys like that you have to nearly almost exclusively play them in the slot. And if you do that, you're opening them up to 250-pound linebackers who are going to destroy them.
Yeah. And he's not a slow guy. Fine in terms of it is 40-yard dash. That was fine. His vertical was average. Just everything else, nothing pops out at you. As for a guy of his size, you just wanted more or something else to be going on there. As I say, I think it's just that in their minds, and I know this to be for fact to be true, is that there are some scouts in the NFL and they have a size profile in their mind, and then if it doesn't match that, they're off. That's it. They're done. Yeah. And he does. The arm length is fine, but it's not adequate enough for everything else that goes along with it. And when corners get their hands on them, and it happens a lot in the NFL, is that in the NFL, the corners learn to play man coverage a lot better and press down on the wide receiver more. This is a guy who's going to struggle to beat press man. He will struggle to do that. But the one thing I will say is that that I found out is that he played track and field, and he is a state champion in the 400 meters. Yeah, which is just crazy.
It is, and it does feed back into that whole thing of Penn State guys always being all rounders.
Yeah,
because it like if you look at Mike Parsons, had a huge wrestling background.
Yeah.
So they don't want guys that are just one sport. You need to be able to do 3-4 sports and have a good ability around it. But if I pose the question, is Jahan Dotson probably going to be a guy who slides into the second at this stage?
He is a second for me. Yeah, I've got him as a second round grade. Again, just shy. So literally, but between Dotson and Jameson Williams, they're practically touching. They're both almost exactly like you couldn't like their scores are like a difference by 0.1, which is nothing.
Yeah.
So but they're both second round players. For definite. They're not a guy I like if they're available and there's none of the first round wide receivers, they just leave it. Because the second round wide receivers are plentiful.
Yes.
And this is a guy who he's fast, he's rapid, never drops the ball, does not drop the ball, which is something that we know the Cowboys wide receivers have had trouble with in the past.
Yeah.
And when he's got the ball in his hands, like Devontae Smith, he's got good vision. He's gonna do all the rest of it, and as well, I know for a fact is he's returned punts as well. So you got the versatility side, and I was just running through some of the other little stats. Like this is just absolutely crazy. That against Maryland this year. 11 catches, 242 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Oh my!
Yeah, and I know, I know that's obviously against that, against Maryland, but still, it's still impressive to have seen that,
Look, I can't say anything about performances against Maryland, considering my Longhorns lost 2 seasons in a row to the Terrapins.
yeah.
Just bringing up a couple of comments here. DJ Dog says he likes Jameson Williams' traits and he believes he goes in the late first. I don't think there's a disagreement there from us in terms of that. And then Graham is just bringing up the point, which of the receivers is the most pro-ready? I think we're probably looking to Ohio State guys.
Yeah, Drake London as well. I would say. But if you was going to say the most pro-ready between so really the most pro-ready is Wilson, Olave, London. If I had to choose between one of those three, I would say probably in an all-around sense, Olave.
Yeah.
He's the guy who you can immediately start.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you've mentioned the name, so I'm going to throw it over to you in terms of Drake London out of USC.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy, and for me, he's a better version of Juju Smith-Schuster.
I see where you're going. If you want to go down the comp road, I put Alshon Jeffrey. Yeah,
I saw that reference as well. In that he's vertical wide receiver, and he has the ability to catch the ball, make it his own, and break tackles and get you those home runs if needed. Yeah.
And a lot of because he got the injury as well. Which was a shame. I'll try and bring it up. But same thing, same situation again. Another guy you could go down the road of what he's maybe more like rather than Alshon, because Alshon Jeffrey was a jump ball specialist. Yeah. So I think a better version or another version you could call him of is Mike Evans, that downfield threat.
Yeah.
Literally sets up shop downfield. That's what he does. That's Drake London. Does have a lot of drops on his resume, but again, contextually, that's because of the type of game that he plays, especially at USC. So you've got a lot of bracketed defenses on him on that side of the field. So he's got a lot of 50-50 balls, a lot of jump balls, a lot of deep balls with an overhang on him. So that's why you're getting these drops. They're not concentration drops. They're just that, they've come off his hands at the catch point, being under duress, So the guy, I'm telling you, like I say, the first thing I put on there could have been wide receiver 1. And here's a good point that gives you an idea of the type of player that he is. He's an ex-basketball player. And we've seen this before in the NFL. So all the jump balls, all the explosiveness, if you like, that you get from it is because of his basketball traits. And he literally, during the time where he wasn't injured, because, when you're talking of USC, you're talking the Pac-12, and I know what people are going to say about the Pac-12, but I say this with the Pac-12 as I do the FCS, that if you're really good, like say Trevor Penning, I want to see you to be like the dad playing against his younger sons, the man amongst boys, and that was Drake London. He absolutely totally was. He was spoiling the show. He was.
I get where you're coming from, and to be fair, there are some pretty elite cornerbacks in the Pac-12. I'm thinking of Trent McDuffie, and I know there was a couple of Washington secondary players last year as well in the draft. Names are escaping me right now, but Drake London, as you say, still made it look like dads against sons.
Yeah.
In his performances. So it feeds into that point, as you say, that he could be wide receiver 1. And that's probably, it's very rare that you actually find the first drafted wide receiver, even second or third. It generally tends to be a second round pick or a third round pick that ends up being the best wide receiver in a draft class. So Drake London, as you say, could eventually be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, like just going into some of his deeper stats for you, just so you get more of a picture of what this guy is like. Is in terms of contested catches, last season he had 19, that ranks first. Screen catches, 27, ranks 9th. Deep catches, 15, that ranks 11th. So like you start to get a picture, but here's some other points that his yards per route run are right at the very top of all the wide receivers in this year's draft class at 3.5. His drop rate is somewhere in the middle. But his contested catch rate is at 68%, which is just phenomenal. It's just like, what do you expect? And then you take all of that. He still finishes the season with 7 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards, 88 catches, and you go through it. His wide snaps, his slot snaps, his snaps close to the line, they're all there. So he's moved around as you would expect with USC, to move him around as that particular piece, to try and get him open, you know. The big problem with him, the biggest problem you're going to have with him is his speed. He does lack speed. As I say, there's a season injury, season-ending injury in October, and people will specify a lot on the drop passes, but just what I would do is go and find the drop passes and watch them and contextualize them, because some of them you will go, okay, I can see that. And some of them you will go, no, that is a drop, but not all of them are.
Yeah, like the question I'm going to ask is, Drake London obviously is a junior, and we've seen what's happened with USC in this off season. So I know you're a guy who's very much an advocate for a guy going back for a year if they need it. Is this a guy who would have benefited from another year in college?
I think so, definitely, 100%. Of all the wide receivers we're talking about, he's probably the one that would have benefited the most. You know, maybe not so much like we was talking like the Devontae Smith. They were for different reasons, but you know, there's guys we speak about, you know, all the time. Should they have gone back? Drake London is that type of guy. And you would probably be coming out. He's a first round. Yeah, I've still got him as he's bang on. He's 85.0. So he's bang on a first round grade. But I think he could have. And the issue again is the Pac-12 issue we had 2 years ago, because they shut that conference completely down. So a lot of these Pac-12 guys are having that stifled year of development because they never got to play. So Drake London's another example of that, who, if he'd go back for another year and played his senior year, he could have played as a super senior as well if he really wanted to play 2 years. And there you've got more, you know, he's going to be played more instinctually.
And like the reason I ask, and look, I know as a Longhorn, I hate talking about it, was going back for another year under a Lincoln Riley system was only going to improve and pad out and make his statistics look more impressive. Because if there's one thing Lincoln Riley can do, obviously he can get quarterbacks, Heisman Trophy winners into the NFL. But he can also get wide receivers. We've been the beneficiary of one of those wide receivers into the NFL.
Exactly. You know, because one feed, you know, the left hand feeds the right in that sense. So and you know, I don't know if you've seen though. Have you seen the pictures of Lincoln Riley's? How he's done upgrades to the property.
Oh, I believe I haven't, but I can only imagine.
Sick.
Yeah. Look, so long as I don't see any more attempts at brisket from Lincoln Riley.
I know. Yeah, that was awful. I tell you one thing though. I know Chip Kelly is absolutely pantsing it right. As soon as, you know, he's the one guy who went, as soon as he saw Lincoln Riley going to USC, he went, just throw in the towel, let's go home. You just know it. Because you know what's coming. He's literally, what's funny is Lincoln Riley now over there, and you think of the quarterbacks that are on that West Coast that come out. Lincoln Riley owns them all now. He just has his pick. You just go, right, you, and you. You know, Oregon and the rest of you guys, you can pick the rest. You can have whatever's left over. There's no Justin Herbert going on anymore.
No. Like, I mean, you and I talked about this at length as soon as that announcement was made, was that effectively USC has locked up the Pac-12 for the next however long Lincoln Riley is with USC.
Yeah.
Now, look, we also threw a bit of shade at him, and we're not going to get into that. But it definitely, look, feeding back into, as we say, the wide receiver talk in terms of Drake London and what he can be. Yes, maybe he should have benefited and taken that extra year, but he's still borderline first round wide receiver ability. The last guy that we're going to talk about, and DJ Dog is bringing up the point here, Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams are going to USC. They are, you know, that trash school that they've left, you know, we're delighted to see the back of them. But the last guy we're going to talk about is a guy who made absolute ribbons, again, of my beloved Longhorns. Traylon Burks out of Arkansas. I mean, this guy is probably a guy who's not been talked about near enough.
Yeah, agree.
He's been overlooked. He can do everything the five guys we've talked about already can do. He's a bit of an all-rounder.
Yeah.
And because of that, because he's your all-round wide receiver, he's not getting the love that the rest of the wide receivers are getting.
Yeah, you're saying, you know, that he took out Texas. He took out Texas A&M. He scored the winning touchdown. He scored. You can call it the winning touchdown. It was the final touchdown for that won them the game.
The decisive score.
Yeah. But, you know, he still got like over 160 yards, and it was like a 90-yard receiving touchdown against Texas A&M. So, thanks for that. But the one thing I will say that people aren't thinking about, all right, and I put a post up a couple of days ago, yesterday, in fact, on Traylon Burks' stats, right? And here's a crazy thing to add to it is he's from Arkansas.
Yeah.
Jerry loves him some Arkansas.
He does.
And there is that connection there.
Yeah. Like, if you look at Traylon Burks, right, he doesn't have the right tree of Chris Olave. He doesn't have the footwork of Garrett Wilson. He doesn't have the ability to separate like Jameson Williams. Yeah. But yet, I would say he has the ability of all of them.
Yeah, he's up there. Like, my issue with him is his motor, that he seems to give up on plays way too easily. If he didn't, he'd probably have a higher grade. It was the one thing that you got marked down the most on, because it's all on a scoring. One day I'll bring it all up from Scouting Academy, and it's categories, and you give it scores, and you total them up, and away you go. And yeah, in terms of that, was a problem. Didn't run many routes as well. I agree with you. So he's going to be entering like the NFL with a very limited tree, which is already a problem, as we've spoken about.
Yeah.
Like, people will say, is there an issue with drops? No, there's not, but there is an issue with concentration. But that goes back again to that effort motor type thing. He just gives up on these plays way too easily. But I tell you something that I did find out. Like, you know, they wear the GPS data on the players. Traylon Burks was the fastest last season, 23 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So he was the fastest, but he's used all over the field. I mean, like, I put the stats up and I'll bring it up now. So this is what I posted the other day. And this is since 2020. Yards after the catch, 985. That ranks second amongst all wide receivers.
Yeah.
Catches of 15 plus yards since 2019, 56. That ranks third. his receiving grade, 92.6. That's since 2020. That's number one. He is the number one wide receiver since 2020. Grade out of the slot this season, 94.
Yeah.
That's first. Wide receiver in the red zone this season, 94. That's first.
Yeah.
Passer rating when targeted this season, 152.1. That's first. See, there's a bit of a trend going on with Treylon Burks. And, you know, I've said it to you before. Two of the things I look at is quarterback rating when it comes to cornerback, safety, and wide receiver. Because it's good. It's not the be-all and end-all, but it's a nice little... You can look at that and go, oh, okay, so that's what he's like when he's targeted. It gives you a nice... You know, if the cornerbacks, their scores are low, then you know he's good. If the wide receivers are high, you know they're good. Burks is the highest. It is the highest. And he, you know, he is a size, speed. His size and his speed are just off the charts. You know, I mean, we can start there if you want. His weight, 225 pounds, ranks in the 93rd percentile. But then you can go through everything else that he got, and it's like, wingspan 79 1/8, that's 82nd. Arm length, which is a big one, 33.5, that's 89th percentile. Hand size 9 7/8, that's 82nd percentile. And it's just it keeps continuing on with Treylon Burks. It's always the same thing, and you go through it, you're like, oh right, okay, and it just keeps going on and on like that. And you know, I put it as a comp for me of who this guy is Dante Moncrief. You watch it and you go, that is that guy completely. It's like it's a carbon copy of him almost immediately.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. The point here that DJ Dog is bringing up in terms of his size could open up slant routes and that he doesn't have an overall route tree. I think you're very correct there, DJ Dog, in terms of what you're saying, because a slant, running slants, and he can run away from guys then. That would be an ideal situation. But again, I'm just going to go back and going to pull Graham's comments up. Look, we've gone through our first 6 guys tonight, and as we say, folks, we are going to have another show. We are going to talk about another 6 wide receivers that could be there in the second and third round. And we could talk about wide receivers till the draft show. Or until the draft, if we wanted. There are plenty of them. So, look, if at 24, and obviously it's not going to happen, but if at 24, all 6 of these guys were available to us, and were wiped out at other positions.
6, all those 6 are available. There's only one I wouldn't want them to take.
Right. So you're kind of saying... You're kind of saying, look, give it time, let it breathe.
Yeah, you like the second round guys are fine, but these 6 guys, and go back to Burks. What you got to know is Burks is going to. I feel is he's going. His type of size and speed and type of play is what wide receivers are slowly starting to go back. You know, like the taller wide receivers, bulkier and faster. I think because it went the other way. We started getting shorter, but now it seems to be going back the other way. Now defenses are catching up. Offenses are moving away from that as they do. And he is going to be the future. And, he's that type that can play as the X from the slot and from the backfield as well because of his size. And he's that big guy. So you can play him as, that big slot type guy, like the Deebo Samuel type, and move him into the backfield if you want to. And
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, sorry, I beat you to it then.
Yeah, you did. Like, it's literally, he is a guy who has that ability to take jet sweeps. And look, we haven't had it. I would say since Lucky Whitehead, we've not had a guy to take it out of the backfield properly.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. It was when it happened. But, I mean, Joe did ask this question, and as I said, I'd circle back to questions later on. If Gallup is not ready for the beginning of the season, who are your 3 starters?
And this was something we've spoken about ad nauseum. I've got no problem with the wide receiver core that we have. The trouble is in week 1, our 3 starting wide receivers is CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, and Simi Fehoko. What are you
Yeah.
supposed to do with that?
I'm going to give a bit of love to Simi. I think Simi is going to surprise us in year 2. I think he's going to show his ability.
Yeah, but
that depends on what happens through the rest of free agency and through the draft.
Yeah. I mean, they still, regardless, because there's still the issue of, and maybe Simi does come along, because development is hard to predict, especially for ourselves, because we're not there.
Yeah,
we're not.
Agreed.
We're not around them. Drake London at 24. Okay, I would be quite happy with it. I'd be all over that pick, but I wonder. I'm not sure he will actually be available at 24.
I do have another question for you here in a second, but go on ahead.
What was we talking about before that?
We're talking about Simi Fehoko and who
Simi
Fehoko.
Yeah, because we're not around with the coaching side of it all, so we don't get to see how they develop and how they're coming along. That is hard to judge. All you can go off is that he didn't play last season, so obviously he wasn't good enough to play last season. What makes you think that over in the next 4 months he's going to develop to become a starting wide receiver in the NFL?
Yeah, fair, which is fair. And then, as I said, the point from DJ Dog here, and I know, Mike, I know you're going to have the answer for this. The biggest hands at wide receiver hasn't been discussed yet.
No, I mean, we'll get on to all the other guys, but
Yeah, absolutely. And look, as you say, Burks was used like Deebo Samuel, so watch out for that pick, because Jerry does enjoy, as Mike has said, Treylon Burks is an Arkansas guy, and he's looking over at San Francisco and going, they have a guy coming out of the backfield, and we don't. We've a guy who could do that coming out of Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's what I was saying. Burks has a bit of that Deebo Samuel coming out of the backfield. So you'll see him coming across, even just standing there as just a running back. I like Burks. I like him a lot.
Yeah,
the connections there, and there's a lot to like about him. I mean, if you just wanted to put it like, what's his biggest positive and his biggest negative is his biggest positive is his size and speed. So that was exactly the thing I was writing about Deebo Samuel. His biggest problem is his routes and his route IQ, if you like. So he's not going to break off quick at the stem. He's got the size and the speed to get going, but he's not going to separate from those cornerbacks with savvy route running. Yeah.
So I've one final question for you, Mike, before we get out of here and we pay the bills tonight. I know you were watching last night's draft show the guys did. Were you pleased with the pick, or would you have went
at 24? At 24.
At 24.
Yeah, I do like Zion. I did. Did you see the story I put up? It was just perfect.
Yeah,
with the music. I think Graham did solid. It was if the Cowboys took Zion Johnson, what you're doing there is you're going right. So where's our biggest problem? Let's find out during. What the good thing with Zion is, it gives you the flexibility to go. Let's go into training camp. Let's find out which is our biggest weakness or our biggest need in our style of play. Is it tackle or is it guard? And you go, wherever it is, you can go, I will plug Zion right there. There we go. Job done. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Like with Kenny Green, he's a off. Kenny Green, you're only going to be playing him in the guard, Trevor Penning, you're only going to be playing him at tackle. And Penning, really, you're only going to be playing him at left tackle at best.
Yeah.
So, there's your issue, because if Tyrone Smith, for whatever reason, does manage to play an entire season, if you draft a left tackle, you've just drafted a pointless position in a season when we've got a lot of problems. When left tackle is, yes, a problem, and it will be a problem at some point in the season, but there's a lot more going on. It's good that they've sorted the linebacker position out, but there's still a lot more to do there.
Yeah. I know I like when the lads were making the pick, and I was screaming at Graham, take Trevor Penning, take Trevor Penning. And Graham was saying, oh, there's this guy and there's that guy. And like, I do agree with you. Zion Johnson is the right pick. I still worry. And the thing is, obviously, as we say, free agency is a moving feast.
Mm-hmm.
I do worry what happens when. And I know Graham and Rich are watching in and they're going, don't say it, Brian, don't say it.
Yeah.
When Tyron Smith goes down.
Yeah, I know.
Who's going to play left tackle now? And it is a worry because we've addressed this for the last 3 seasons. We've addressed with Cam Irving, Cam Fleming, Tyan Seeke, and none of them have been able to do it. And we've had to go with Terence Steele and Brandon Knight at left and right tackle. So hopefully, they will sort out this offensive line because it does. It's a whole other night's conversation that we could have. Yeah, in terms of what a lot of Cowboys Nation is mad about.
Like with Zion, you've just got all the flexibility that you could go into camp. Like there's not much thinking involved with Zion.
Yeah.
Like you could just go, right, okay. With say like Trevor Penning, you need to have a plan. What's your plan going forward? Especially FCS, he has issues with pass blocking, only played left tackle. So like there's all those parts where you need to run through in your mind and go, so what is it? What's our plan with Trevor? And the same with Kenny Green. Right, okay, so what's our plan with right tackle then? Because we know who our guard's going to be. So what's our plan for the rest of the line? And but Zion is just a less of a thinky draft pick. You just go, right, okay, but put him in there, give him his jersey number, put him on the stage. What are we doing for what we decide to do with this line? We'll figure out on the fly now. Once we get to camp, then we'll figure it out. That's what the Zion pick does for you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And look, you can't go wrong with an offensive lineman out of Boston College.
Boston College again, yeah. So I mean, those guys just churn them out like there's no one's business. You know, Oklahoma bring out quarterbacks like Boston College is for offensive linemen. That's basically how it works with them. And what's the real bugger is they're called the Eagles. Ugh.
We'll not worry about that. But look, before we do get out, we better pay the bills on the show as always.
Okey-dokey.
So,
are you
if
doing
you beat
that?
me to it, might go for it.
All right, I'll get it. I'll get you on it. I'll get you on it. There you go, mate.
There we go.
Oh,
we clicked at the same.
There you are. There you are.
So, if you are going to a game next season, make sure you get in touch with the team over at Cowboys Experience. Barry and the team will look after you like absolute royalty. You will not want for anything at any stage during your visit out there. And as you can see, there is a code there, UK Cowboys. And Mike, what happens if you use that code?
Free stuff, baby.
Free stuff, baby. And as always, check out all of our content providers. The guys at Dallas Cowboys Media, The Break, Hanging with the Boys, our other content providers, J-Talk, Law Nation, Big Game James, Katie's Fun Tweets, The Baracho Cowboys. All of those guys pump out coverage every single day. And of course, our great friends over at Blogging the Boys, Meg, Kelsey, RJ, all of them.
All the guys, all the gang, and all the guys. So, hey, the next show, well, mind you, I say the next show, it's me and you again.
Yeah.
That all depends what happens over the weekend. But we are supposed to be back with Prospect Project on Tuesday. And ironically, I checked as you were doing that to have a look to see what Tuesday's prospect. Do you know what it is?
Cornerbacks.
Pass rushers.
Oh,
we timed that right.
We did. We absolutely did.
I just checked the calendar.
Yeah.
So pass rushers on Tuesday. That is unless, of course, we have to switch back to another lowdown show.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, it's a good night from me. Mike, I'll leave it to you.
All right, then. Stay safe, everyone. Have a nice weekend. And we'll see you on the other side.
You can try to break me. I cut my teeth on people like you. It's gonna take a lot more to take me down. I'm a step ahead, watch me wear my crown. Don't need a knight to guard the cave. Can count the dragons that I've slayed. You can give it all you got, 'cause love is running through my veins. Oh, this line can't be tamed. There's fire